Okay, so welcome back to another episode of Azure Skåne events. This time we're joined by Martin Persson from Atea. He will talk about how you build and manage networks at global scale with some new cool Azure features. Just shortly, what we are all about. We are a community of today 830 members plus. It's all about learning, networking, and having fun. The Azure Skåne crew, it's me, Johan, Magnus, and Robin. And don't be scared, it says 13 slides. I will go quickly. This is just an introduction before we'll get to the gist of it. I imagine we have a couple of new joiners that are not locally represented, so welcome. And for you, I'm just quickly going to tell you that Skåne, it's the small part of southern Sweden. We are connected to Denmark with a bridge. I will show you a picture. We have our own flag, it's seldomly used. And some things Skåne is famous for. We have an architectural wonder called Turning Torso. Pretty useless if you live there, I've heard. A bridge connecting us to Denmark. As you can see, at the end of the bridge, you drive underwater for a couple of kilometers. Pretty cool. Now in these dire times, it's lit up sometimes during the evenings in solidarity. We're fighting this thing together. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, he's from Malmö. Absolute vodka. It's actually produced in Skåne. And Microsoft Azure Data Center in Staffanstorp is soon released. So that's very fitting for us. If you're attending this event, please tweet about it, post on LinkedIn, on Facebook, Instagram, all the social media. And if you do, please use the hashtag Azure Skåne. It's nice for us to see if someone's attending. It motivates us. As usually, Microsoft is sponsoring this event, and Microsoft has produced something called Badger, and you can collect these. I will post links in the chat soon. But if you're watching this, you can actually click on soon. You can at least use the QR code. Quickly, I will show that you can look at the Azure Heroes community map. And you can see how many badges of each there's been released. Eventually you will be able to collect these and showcase them at a physical event and get some stuff. So this is the QR code that you should scan. You need to download the Engine wallet, or if you have another wallet you can use that. It's a blockchain one. And collect your badger. We want to say thank you to Foo Café for hosting us and sponsoring us, and Microsoft for sponsoring the whole setup. Quickly the agenda, introductions and welcome. That's what I'm doing now. Then we will listen to Martin about Virtual WAN and Azure Firewall, building and managing networks at a global scale. Pretty cool. If you have any questions during the live stream, please post those in the YouTube chat, and I will bring them up with Martin afterwards. And again, please use the Azure Skåne hashtag. Before I leave, I just want to say that in December, March, still being planned. I was hoping to have planned it a little bit more. We're going to do some skill up sessions in a couple of occasions in a certification preparation format, I think. And sign up on the meetup. You'll get notified when this happens. I just want to say that there's other events happening in the community. Azure Day.community is something that happens on 3rd of December. Johan, one of our Azure Skåne founders, he will have a presentation about AI and AI-supported parking finder app. I would also want to mention the festive tech calendar. It's a pretty fun thing. You will get 3 topics each day about Azure. Well, not just Azure, but in tech in general. So please check that out. And with that, I would want to say, sign up to our meetup. Click like on our YouTube. We will post all of our recordings there. And you can also find them on Foo Café's YouTube site. And with that, I'll leave the scene and hand it over to Martin. So, please join us.
Thank you.
While you hook that up, Martin, can you say a couple of words about yourself? You probably have a presentation about it, but
yeah,
just a short introduction.
Short introduction. Yeah, talk and make this the same time. So yeah, Martin Persson, working at Atea as a solution architect. Been there for about 2 years. Yeah, working mainly in the Azure space.
It's a hybrid data center.
Yeah. So
is that a big area for you?
Yeah, it is. A lot of scenarios is hybrid, so it's both solutions on-prem and in cloud, and those two worlds needs to meet and work in the best way.
I recall in the early days of Azure, everything, the marketing was everything will be cloud, and then hybrid came and said this is how it should be, because you can't just leave the on-prem stuff. So probably we'll hear some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I'll leave you to it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. So today I'm going to talk about Azure Firewall and Azure Virtual WAN. But before that, I mentioned a bit of me first. Like I mentioned. Yeah. Just gonna fix the technique first. So, as I mentioned, working at Atea as a solution architect. My interest for IT started, I guess, what the late 80s with this little gadget or device, so Commodore 64. I can rejoin the meeting. Yeah, just a technical break just to rejoin the meeting so we can have a recording as well. Do you have the sharing there?
Yes.
So we start over then. My interest for computer started back in the late 80s with a little device, so a computer called Commodore 64. I guess some of you have maybe used it. So starting with gaming, and then keep going from there. So I've been working with IT 20 plus years in various roles. Most of the part I've been working in different IT departments. Like a technical expert, IT specialist, architect, and different manager roles as well. But in the past, I think 3 years now, I've been working as a consultant. And came in contact with Azure the first time 2013. So a lot has happened in the platform since then, and it keeps happening every day, and it goes faster and faster, and that's nice. So enough about me. Let's get to it. So the Azure network, I guess a lot of you have seen this picture before. It illustrates the Microsoft global network. It's very huge and it has a lot of capacity. So I say it's there, so why not use it? So to build a bit context before entering and looking into the different products and solutions, need to have some background of how trending looks like in networking, and how it traditionally used to look in building a network in Azure. So looking at different trends in the networking, SD-WAN, that's something that's you hear most of the days, every day, more or less, I would say. So it's very huge, even if you use like traditional on-prem network, SD-WAN, that's a huge topic. Less demand for traditional MPLS, usually quite expensive connections that you pay for. And also a trend is automated configuration of network devices. So more or less you want plug and play for your network device in some sense. Looking at some common scenarios in the world of Azure, traditionally hub and spoke, that's I guess quite known. terminology, how you build a network, where you have your central hub and you have different spoke networks connected to that one. And how that looks is that you have your, so see here, your different virtual networks that you create. And in each of these virtual networks you have your subnets. And depending on how large you build your VNets and what solutions you want to deploy in it, could be a number of subnets. And maybe in one of the subnets you deploy a network virtual appliance called NVA in short here. That could be all from maybe the big vendors, traditional like Cisco, Checkpoint, third-party vendors that have their appliances from Azure Marketplace. And to that you have your network peerings, so you connect your VNets to the hub, and to get everything working between like two spokes that should be able to talk to one another, you have to have routes in place. And next, to be able to communicate to your on-prem environment, you want to set up a site-to-site VPN connection, and for that you need a virtual network gateway. And you might also want to have a client VPN, so point-to-site, in this gateway as well. And in some cases, maybe even also an express route. So it could be a lot of different gateways, a lot of VNets, subnets, you have a lot of peerings and routing to take care of. So the challenges with this setup, you have a complexity in setting up this NVA, so the Network Virtual Appliance. You want to have it high available, and how should that be set up? How should it scale? How should licensing be taken care of? So that could be quite complex scenarios to take care of, and you always need to have the amount and the sizing of your appliances to have the ability to take the load, the top load. Managing routes, that could be a real pain if you have a lot of networks and you have a lot of route tables and routes in them. You need to know where are those route tables connected to which subnets and so on. It could get quite messy quite fast. And looking at a global perspective, it could be very challenging to scale on a global. And if you have larger environments, you can also run into different limitations. For example, for a site-to-site VPN, you're limited to 30 connections. What to do after that? So this is to build some context before we look into it. So if we should look into the good stuff, that I call it, I will start off with Azure Firewall. So Azure Firewall is a managed service. It's a cloud-native firewall. It has a central governance for all different traffic flows that exist in your environment. So you have central policies across the different VNets and subscriptions. Your traffic filtering on network and application layer, and you have really nice features with built-in high availability and autoscale. So you have everything as a service. So for the autoscaling part and high availability, you have it's possible to deploy firewalls in different availability zones. And for autoscaling, you have an automatic when the CPU threshold reaches 60% on the firewall, it starts to scale out, and that's totally automatically and takes about 5 to 10 minutes in the background. So it's really nice features. Like I mentioned, you have all the different traffic flows to protect. So you have outbound, inbound, you have spoke to spoke, you have hybrid setups with VPN connections and point to site connections and so on that you also can protect and manage through the firewall. Regarding logging, you have the capabilities like all other Azure services to log to storage account, to Event Hub, and to Log Analytics. And you can also integrate it with, for example, Sentinel. That's Microsoft Cloud Native CM solution, or if you prefer another solution. Regarding the rules, you have 3 different kinds. We'll start off with the application rules. So here we have the possibility to use IP groups. That's a resource that you create, and you can add a lot of different IPs to that group, and that can be used as a source when setting the rule. And you also can use FQD and filtering and FQD and tags to the destinations and stuff like that. And for the network rules, you have fully stateful network rules. There you have the capability also to use FQDN, service tags, and IP groups. And the last part is you have NAT support. So you can have DNAT if you have services that you want to expose to internet. That's also available.
A question.
Yeah.
What would you say is the biggest difference in feature parity between Azure Firewall and any high-end second generation firewall?
For now, as it is at the moment, we will come to that in the next slide, but there is a difference regarding IP DS and that kind of filtering. So
you don't have those capabilities in Azure Firewall yet?
Not in GA yet.
No. But it still lives up to pretty high standards, and it covers most of your needs, I gather.
Yeah, most of the scenarios it covers. Like you see in the top corner, it's have a nice certificate, so it's a certified cloud native firewall with a lot of features and more coming.
Would you, from your experience, do you feel that customers are hesitant to use Azure Firewall if they already have a heavy investment in like Palo or F5 or something?
It's like 50-50, I would say.
Yeah.
Some customers are more for it to go cloud native and see the benefit of that. Some are more traditional and want to use the same everywhere, and mainly for have the same single pane
it
interface.
gives you a lot of overhead governance benefits. I can see.
Yeah.
Keeping it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So It's 50-50.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I'll let you continue.
Yeah. Looking in the features, it covers the layer 3 to layer 7. So all the support layers in Azure are covered by this solution. It has built-in threat intelligence, so from connected with Microsoft's threat intelligence security feed, it's connected to block all the different threats that's available out there. And by default, everything in Azure Firewall is blocked, so in and out, it's no access from start. So that's good also to know. Yeah. I can also mention that the start throughput for the firewall is around 2.5 to 3 gigabit per second. But if needed, the scaling can go up to 30 gigabit. So quite nice throughput in the firewall as well. Looking in some features that was announced like 2 weeks ago. It came and it disappeared again. So I don't know if someone at Microsoft was a bit hot to press the button to publish the article, but it will be coming soon. So that was announced was a public preview with the features that I mentioned was missing, comparing to the third-party vendors. So TLS inspection is a feature that will come in Firewall Premium. So it will be able to decrypt, inspect, and then encrypt it again when sending the packages. There is a signature-based intrusion detection prevention system also that I mentioned to Michael that was missing. We have features with web categories, so you can allow and block different categories in web. So block gaming or drugs and stuff like that, those kind of sites. And together with that, also URL filtering. So hopefully it will come again as a public preview, so it's able to look into it. All these features is only available with Firewall Manager that we are going to look into soon. So it's everything is available from there. Looking at an example for logging and visualizing stuff that happens on the firewall, you use Log Analytics and you can build your own workbooks like all other Azure services have that capability. So here's one example of how a workbook could look like. So quite nice graphs, and you're able to drill down and look in the raw data and so on. To manage your firewalls, it could be that you have more than one. Then there is a resource called Firewall Manager. So that's the go-to tool where you create and deploy, deploy firewalls and also configure them. You have the availability to integrate with third-party solutions, so like Zscaler, Checkpoint, and iBus, so different security solutions that integrates nicely with Azure Firewall. And also the capability with a centralized route management. And there is a pricing connected to this one. If you have a one-to-one scenario, there's no additional cost for the firewall manager. But if you're managing several firewalls with policies, you have a you have to pay for that feature. But in the meantime, you save time. So I think that next is to do a demo of the firewall part and the firewall manager. So those of you that haven't looked into it before would have a sneak peek. So just going to check that Michael, everything is good with the screen. Great. So I will jump in the firewall manager. So I have deployed a firewall in a virtual network. So I can show the virtual network. So there is a requirement for a subnet that's named Azure Firewall subnet, spelled exactly as you see in the screen. That will be dedicated for the firewall resource. And it's /26 subnet size that you need at minimum. You can have larger networks, but that's the minimum because the firewall service should be able to scale. So you see here in this part in red, so the firewall subnet name and a /26. So looking in the firewall manager, I have the firewall deployed here, as you can see. And if I just look into the firewall, it's not exciting at all. It's just a resource. It does what it should do. You don't have to spend time to maintain it, patch it, upgrade it, replace it. So very nice service in that sense. You have the option to add additional public IPs, so you can have up to 100 public IPs connected to a firewall. And that, maybe you will have a scenario, but and connected to a firewall, you have a firewall policy. And that's where you have the focus on the rules that we will start looking into. So you have the three different rule sets that I described earlier. So you have the DNet rules. So that's from internet to something that you want to publish, like in a DMZ or something inside your network. For example, an SFTP server or something like that. And looking at the rule, you don't have to be, you don't have to come from the networking segment since earlier. Quite easy to understand the rule sets and how it works. So I just made an example here where I publish port 22 from internet to an address on the inside. And with these DNet rules, you don't have to create an additional rule in the network segment to allow this traffic to happen. Because when the traffic hit this rule, it will automatically create the allow rule for that session and take it from there. And regarding the network rules, you have IP addresses, source type, or IP groups, as I mentioned, that you can group a lot of different IPs in the same, so it would be easier to maintain and manage. You have the source destination, and here you have the possibility to use IP addresses, service tags. The service tags is the different services in the platform. Like this example, I've chosen a service tag, and I've chosen Azure Monitor. So that's also really a nice feature and get easier to maintain. And you have the option to use FQDN and IP groups as well. And for the last part, you have the application rules, where you have the options to use IP groups. You specify what kind of protocol it is. So HTTPS port 443 is allowed in this scenario. It could be SQL on 1433 or some other service that could be used. And then you can use FQDN or FQDN tags to specify and do those rules. So it's quite easy, and you can focus on the parts that gives the real value directly. So fast and easy to create a resource. It's very easy to create the rule sets and the different scenarios that you want in that aspect. Some other features is you have the capability to use the firewall as a DNS proxy and DNS server, so you can specify to use the Azure Firewall as your DNS. And then you can have your custom DNS, or you can use it as a proxy also. So that's a quite new feature. And for the threat intelligence part, the part that was connected with the Microsoft Threat Intelligence feed, you have the option to turn it off. You can choose to alert only or alert and deny. And if you have some true-false scenarios or false negative, you can add different IPs and allow them to override the intelligence feed. So that's something that's built in. Just switch on, save, and it's all the information is available in the logs if you want to trace the scenario. And the part that I hope is coming soon then is the premium part, so we also can look into the more advanced scenarios with TLS inspection and that part. If I just should look into the firewall itself, you can see that it gets a private IP from the subnet. So that's the IP that you want to point out when you route your traffic and want to send it to the firewall. So that was the demo part for Azure Firewall. So as you can see, it's a really nice service that you can get a fast and proven value from instant, and you can focus on other stuff in your business that gives more value than patching, maintaining, and changing your firewalls over time. So I think that we should go over and look into Azure Virtual WAN.
Just before you switch
Yep.
context. So you said this is a really nice way of the business to not needing to update or patch their firewalls.
Yep.
So what's the switch here in your responsibility for the firewall setup? Is it only the configuration and rest is managed by Microsoft?
Yep. So it's the same scenario as the PaaS services in Azure. So Microsoft manages the patching and updating and that part. You manage, you have the tools provided from Microsoft with the rule sets. You maintain and create the rules. So yeah, you have the responsibility if you configure it wrong and you have a security threat in your network.
It's basically the configuration, and
Yeah.
if you do you need to scale it up and down? Can you set those limits?
You don't
on the
set it,
firewall?
it's totally automatically set. So you have the threshold with 60% on the CPU, and then it will scale. And also with the bandwidth, if needed, it will scale up to 30 gigabit to handle the scenario.
You said custom DNS. That's a pretty new feature, is it?
Yep.
How do you know how new it is?
Like
it's like
6 months, something like that.
So old.
Yeah, something like that.
In cloud measures, that
yeah.
old. That's
Yeah.
old. Okay, that's
So
nice.
it's a nice feature to have also.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that was my questions.
Yeah. So looking into the virtual WAN, it's been around for a while, but it has happened a lot of with it. I would say since summer and onwards, it has happened quite a lot. So it's a network service that leverage from Microsoft's global network. So like the first slide I showed you, the big global network that Microsoft has available. It's a managed service by Microsoft, and it's automated. It's a large-scale branch connectivity, and it's has optimized routing using Microsoft's global network, and it's one place for managing your network and different connections that you have. And you also have it's one place. It's easier to optimize security and agility within your global network. So looking into the different components and what's in it and how you can use it. So you have two different types of vWAN. So you have the basic, that's only site-to-site VPN available. And you have the standard, there you have express route, site-to-site, point-to-site. You have inter-hub communication, you have VNet to VNet. So all scenarios available in the standard feature. And looking at the different resources, you have like a virtual overlayer and a service that's a global one. So a logical virtual representation, virtual WAN it's called. In the virtual WAN, you have something that's called a hub, so a virtual hub. And you can have one hub per region. And the hub and the resource that you deploy it is automatically deployed in different availability zones. So you have a high availability solution in the back in this managed service. And looking in the different connectivity options that you have in this solution, you have the site-to-site, as we mentioned, with the capability of 20 gigabits of throughput. It supports IK V1 and V2, and you have the option up to 1000 connections per hub. And then that means that you can have 2000 what's it called? You have active, so you can have 2000 sessions or established, but it will be 1000 connections per hub. So it's quite a lot if you differ that to like a single virtual network gateway where you can have 30 site-to-site connections. So it's really nice. Looking into the part with the pointer site, so the client VPN, you have the same in the gateway. You have 20 gigabit throughput. You have the IK V2 option. You have Open VPN. And for authentication part, you have salt-based, so you have Radius, and the coolest one that I think is Azure AD authentication. So you will be able to leverage the intelligence of conditional access and those parts, and having the identity as a real nice layer of security with that feature. And that is only supported together with OpenVPN. For ExpressRoute, the same here for the gateway, 20 gigabit, and it's supported with 8 circuits per hub. And nowadays you can use standard circuits. A while back it was premium only, but that has changed, and also the number has increased to 8. So that's happened quite a lot in that sense. And for VNet, so hub to VNet connection, you have throughput on 50 gigabit, and that also should be enough. Looking at the pricing part, you have no upfront cost, no termination fees, and like everything else in Azure, pay for what you use. So it could be some scenarios when you work traditionally with connections and all over the world. You might have some termination fees and stuff like that if you end it earlier, that your agreement and so on, but all that part is totally skipped here, so that's also nice. I don't know if it's small to read, but you have the pricing here in hours for the different scenarios. Basic isn't mentioned because there are no fees for that hub. But otherwise it's standard and the different features and gateways that are deployed that you pay for. And here is also the pricing for the Azure Firewall in the bottom. And if you want to look into more scenarios for pricing, Azure Calculator, it's a good tool to use. To Virtual WAN solution, there's a lot of partners that integrates with their solutions because there are open APIs to use. So the different partners can build solutions and interact with Virtual WAN in a good way. So they have more or less pre-configured devices that you connect that are pre-configured against Virtual WAN and have optimized scenarios for traffic flows and so on. And there is also right now 2 players that you could deploy virtual appliances directly in the hub, and that's from Barracuda and Cisco Viptela. That's the two solutions. So it's SD-WAN solutions, both of them. So if you prefer to use your third-party and vendor solutions in the hub, it's those two that support it in the hub, but the other could be used if you connect the VNet to the hub. If we look at the architecture, I think this is the picture that Michael sent in the invitation also. You have the virtual WAN and the hub in the middle, and you have the option to connect all these different sites and to the hub. So you have your different branches, so you connect those with site to site. You have your remote users that you use the point to site, the client VPN, and maybe to your headquarter or data center you might have an express route. And in Azure you can connect all your different VNets from different subscriptions and so on. So that's it peering that's occur against the VNet and the hub. There's a scenario that also you can have hub to hub. If you have one hub in Western Europe, you have one hub in East US. Those can talk to one another. And you can control, in this scenario, it's hub to hub only, so they can talk to one another, but the VNets could only talk to the hub in its own region. Looking at another architecture is the any-to-any scenario, and that's what Virtual WAN really is built for and should be used for, is that everything could talk to anything. So between regions, branches over regions, they can talk to one another. And that's a really nice feature, and you leverage really from the global network that Microsoft has available. Looking at an example and also how the traffic flows, the pattern is that you go from a branch device to your ISP, and then you hit the edge. You have to, maybe heard of POP or point of presence or edge sites that Microsoft have. So it's available I guess it's 150 or so in the world that you connect to, and then you have the optimal way and route to the nearest or to your data center where your service is located. So you have a fast entry to the Microsoft global network and a fast throughput to resource, and then back again. So really leverage from that structure. So it's easy to scale, and as you see, it's easy to deploy all over the world and build this global architecture. And there is a reason why I started off with Azure Firewall. So if we should put the pieces together. So we have the virtual WAN and we have the firewall. And together that's called secured virtual hub. So that's a terminology that Microsoft use for this scenario. And what that means is that this architecture shows is that you can have the capability to deploy an Azure Firewall in your hub, and you can control the flow of the traffic through the firewall, maintain the routing, the rules. You have the availability to talk any to any, but should it be allowed, what should be able to talk to one another, and so on. So that's a really nice feature to have everything integrated in one place and in the hub. So I will show a demo also of Virtual WAN and how it looks and how it could be used. Do you have the screen correct? Yep. So looking in the overview in Virtual WAN, this is the first page that you come into in that service. You have a really nice overview. You see the blue spot in the middle in Amsterdam, because I've deployed in Western Europe. You have a good overview. Where do I have my different hubs in the world? You have a list of the status of the different hubs. You have an overview of the resources that are deployed, and so on. So looking at the configuration part, you have the option here in the virtual WAN type. You have the option to deploy basic or standard. I've gone from standard to show you all the different options. You have the possibility to upgrade from basic to standard if needed. And then you have the scenario with the connectivity. So hub to hub is enabled. It's possible to talk global, so between regions, and branch to branch it's enabled. So that's the scenario with any-to-any connection. Looking at, I'll start off with virtual network connections. That's where you configure which virtual networks or spoke networks should be connected to the hub. So in a traditional hub and spoke scenario, this is your new hub. So all the different VNets that you want connected will be presented here. Hopefully anytime soon.
Eventually. While it's loading. So what was the challenges setting up big networks before you had this WAN hub?
The part is the routing in between the networks. So all the different route tables that you have, and you have to connect it to different subnets and control the traffic flows. That could, if you have a large environment and a global environment, that could quite fast get really tricky and get a hold of all the things.
So you had to be creative to get that working before this hub.
Maybe not creative, but it's a lot of documentation and scenarios to look into, and a lot of places where things can go wrong if you configure it wrong.
And now it's easier with one place to
yeah,
go.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay.
So looking in the different virtual networks, I've connected 3 different in this scenario. So it's very easy to just add a connection. You choose your network, and then you're done. And then you have the option to connect this to different route tables that we will look into soon also. I haven't deployed express route in this scenario. Could be tricky to have in a demo, but I have defined a VPN site where I have a site-to-site VPN connection established. So the possibility is to have thousands of those, as I mentioned. and you have a nice overview from here. And you can download your configuration. You see what to configure and in the other end on premise so that that should work. And also have user VPN configuration configured with Azure AD authentication, so the OpenVPN part. And then in that case, you specify an address pool for your VPN clients to use. So that differs from the hub itself. So looking into the hub, as I mentioned, one hub per region. And here you have the capability to create the different gateways for the different scenarios that you might have. So you don't have to start with everything at once. You maybe just want to have a site-to-site at start, but then you want to move also your point-to-site, and you can scale from there and just deploy the different gateways. So in this demo environment, I've set up a gateway. Like to say, here's the green, it's provisioned, and one gateway for user VPN. And if I had express route, I would just go and create one of those. And the cool thing here is that you also could deploy the Azure Firewall service directly in the hub, so you have everything in one place. And for partner options, you have the option to deploy Barracuda or Cisco SD-WAN with Viptela. And that's a quite new feature since late summer. And looking at one of the big benefits of using Virtual WAN is the routing part. So you have we'll show here. You have two route tables that created out of the box. It's the default one and it's the none. And you have the option to create custom route tables if you want to control different flows in your own way. You might have a security appliance in an attached VNet, and you want to send traffic to that one. Then you create a custom route table and specify the scenario. You can look into the custom route table. In this scenario, I have specified to use an Meraki appliance with which connection it should go over and what IP should be the next hop for reaching that specified network. So that's a total custom scenario, but fully supported. And then you associate that route table to a virtual network for that traffic they want to send through that appliance. But for most of the part, if you use like standard setup, Azure Firewall and Virtual WAN, you should be good to go with the default setup, and that's the scenario when you connect virtual network to the hub, it automatically built the routing based on that, and so on, and even when you connect your VPN sites and those parts. So looking into Firewall Manager, maintaining and managing this firewall that's in the hub. It's the concept with a secure virtual hub. Like before, you have the capability to add additional public IP, and you have the option to connect with partners, so like Zscaler and those that I showed before. And the really nice feature is this one, I think, where you have the option to control your flow of your traffic from one point, one place in your environment. So for internet traffic, I have specified that I want to send internet traffic through Azure Firewall. And I've also specified that send private traffic through Azure Firewall. And as you see down below here, I have all the different connections that I have, both VNets, I have point to site and site to site. So no matter what type of connection it is, it could be controlled and send the traffic through Azure Firewall. And there you have your rule set to what you should be allowed to do. And that could be individual control also for each connection in that sense. But I think this feature where you control and maintain and automatically build your route table based on these settings is, you get a really value and an easiness in the maintenance part over time, I think. And for the other part, it's the same as I mentioned with the firewall policies that's connected. So I have a firewall policy that's connected to this firewall with those kind of rules, and that doesn't differ. So the really nice features, as I mentioned, is the part where everything is controlled and the flow of the traffic from one place. There are some nice features also, some insights that you show your topology. So you get a nice overview of your environment and all the different resources and connections that you have established. And from that you can build your own workbooks and collect your logs, metrics and so on to visualize it in different dashboards. So looking at the real world scenario, how it could look like, is a scenario with a global environment with 3 different hubs. So one in East US, one in West Europe, and one in Southeast Asia. So in each hub there is a gateway deployed for site-to-site communication, one firewall deployed for the communication within the region, and the different networks that's needed are connected to the environment. And if you have a scenario where you bring up a new business in, for example, Africa or something, you can deploy a new hub, and like 10 minutes later you're up and running in Africa. So you can really extend your network, leveraging from the global network that Microsoft have, and that's a lot of capacity in it. So when to use Azure Virtual WAN and Secure Virtual Hub? You would like to enable some new capabilities. You might find it hard to scale globally, as I mentioned. You want to simplify your management, So routing is a big part. Also the different gateways that you connect and create. You have everything in one place. You have all the logging in one place, etc. You want to build a global distributed network. You want to save money. You can change from having MPLS connections to have local internet breakout and maybe pay less and use Microsoft's backbone to optimize the flow. You have multiple branch offices that you want to connect, maybe more than 30. And you might have remote workers located all over the place. So all over the world you have users that want to connect. They can leverage from using the client VPN to connect, and from that they are connected to the region that is closest to them, so they have an optimal performance as well. So they leverage the traffic manager in the background to optimize the traffic flow. And that's there is a nice Azure VPN client that could be used for these scenarios, also together with Azure AD authentication. So that's a nice feature as well. So that was my last slide. So I want to thank Michael for inviting me and the Azure Skåne User Group. And if you have any questions.
If I look at the questions, there are none, but there is one that says he's doing a POC eventually. Do you have any tips where to start, how to start, what you should avoid doing?
Avoid doing. I think a nice start is there is a lot of good documentation in Microsoft sites.
Yeah.
Read that through, understand architecture and the different scenarios. And then from that, build a small demo environment like the one I presented here. You can connect a simple VPN site-to-site connection from another cloud or from on-prem, and try to do different routing scenarios and go from there.
And you would of course say that you should do it in the portal, but do you do any with infrastructure as code, any ARM templating? And
yeah, you could leverage infrastructure as code. There is, for simple deployments, there is in quick start gallery.
Quick start gallery.
Yeah,
you could use that.
Yeah, there is something to start from, but the service itself is more API and like REST-based and portal. That's what Microsoft says.
Yeah.
But there is options to use infrastructure as code as well.
Okay. Nice. Well, I don't have any other questions. Is there anything else that you think you missed to mention?
I don't think so. But if you have the option, try it out, because I think it's happened a lot the last 6 months in the service. It has really nice, cool features that you can benefit a lot from.
On that note, you said it had a lot of new features has come in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
So if you started early, and is there anything that you have to redo, or is there any service outage that has happened or anything like that?
Not in that sense. But they have changed a bit in the routing table. So you had it was the other way around before. So you have to.
So there's still some management around it, but you don't have to do the patching of the firewalls or the hub services, etc.
Exactly. So you have to configure and of course to maintain your routes, but it's in one place. You have control of everything in one place. Yeah. That's a big benefit instead of going all over the place to manage. Of course, using infrastructure as code, you have a benefit.
Yeah.
But that could be also, like a cliff if you come from traditional on-prem network to go to infrastructure as code. That could be quite a step.
When you mention that, So if you've been in the Azure space a while, you would be tasked with doing networking, even if you didn't have the networking background. And I've faced that in several scenarios where the networking group, they don't do anything with cloud, but then you come with
Yep.
cloud and you want to connect it to your existing network. There was a clash there.
Yeah.
Do you experience that today?
Yeah, I do in some cases. So this, I myself is not a network guy.
It doesn't it doesn't show.
No, but that's the case. So yeah, I think it's fun and there's some nice features, but there is a miscommunication between traditional on-prem that maybe talk a certain language. So they suppose that you know maybe when talking about networking,
Yeah.
but if you don't are a networking guy from the beginning or girl, you have to find a balance and maybe elaborate a bit more what you actually mean and what you want to achieve, and then take it from there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting world.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for your presentation. We'll just shift there and I'll end the
Yep.
session.
Thank you.
And for all the people online, I'll just gonna end it with some reminders. Of course, the badges, please claim them. Join the meetup site. Join the meetup site and please subscribe to the YouTube. Maybe this recording will not be the best one. We'll see. And keep an eye out in December, maybe early January. We'll have some skill up sessions. The structure around it set, so we will push that out to the meetup. And I would wanna say the Azure Community Day and the festive tech calendars. Those are good things that you can keep yourself occupied with. And with that, I would want to say thank you for this time and watch this space. We'll be back. Thank you.